Welcome to Women Finding Clarity, the podcast that ignites your inner power and guides you on a journey to uncover the boundless potential of the universe. I'm Pascal Cook Fernandez, your podcast host, business mentor, resident Reiki master, and abundantly aligned, heart-centered friend. Join me every Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time as we embark on a transformative adventure where we align our energies, elevate our businesses, and thrive in every aspect of life. If you're an entrepreneur seeking lasting success and are ready to call in abundance like never before, you're in the right place. Remember, the universe is abundant and success is your birthright. Let's align, elevate, and thrive together, one conversation at a time. Hello, and welcome to Women Finding Clarity. I'm your host, Pascal Cook Fernandez. As we're closing out the day on Thanksgiving, I hope you've all had a wonderful day, reflecting your gratitudes and spending time with those you hold most dear. For me, all three kids are back at home, and I could not be happier. Their first night back together was Tuesday, and when my husband and I went to bed, they had a couple of friends over. And while it was hard to sleep because there was so much talking and laughter and honestly just joyful pandemonium, my heart was so full just hearing them all back together downstairs. It didn't matter that we couldn't sleep. There's truly nothing better than the energy of having all my little chickens back under one roof. I know that as they're beginning their adult lives, these holidays of us being all together might start to be more few and far between. And so while it can be, I am grateful. I am blessed. And I know that. So take a moment and ask yourself, what do you have to be grateful for this year? What do you have, or who do you have in your life this year, but you know it might be completely different next year, so you're holding it or them warmly in your heart and soul today? And as you're pondering those two questions, I'm excited to introduce our guest for this evening. Meet Elaine Blais, a certified life coach who specializes in empowering women to reclaim their personal power through the art of self-approval. Elaine has a unique perspective on life, having spent much of her journey pleasing others and trying not to be difficult. Through her own experiences, she has come to understand the power of embracing all aspects of oneself, even those that might be perceived as difficult. Now, she is passionate about helping others do the same by writing a new story for their lives. Elaine believes that being a difficult woman is not only acceptable, but powerful, and she is here to support and guide you on your journey of self-discovery and empowerment. So without further ado, welcome to Women Finding Clarity, Elaine. Elaine, welcome to Women Finding Clarity.
Thank you. I'm really excited to be here, Pascal.
I'm so glad. I'm so happy that you agreed to come on. I think that you're such an interesting person and you have such a wide, I don't know, I guess just a vast breadth of knowledge to share with other people. And I just thought you're perfect for the show.
Well, thanks. I appreciate that.
Yeah, so let's jump right in and talk about the art of self-approval.
Yeah, so that is my thing. I started out coaching women really to empower them to follow their dreams. And that has been my journey, really. And the more I did that, the more I realized that most women, I'm going to say most, maybe not all, but so many of us are bogged down in perfectionism, and we don't even realize it. It's ingrained in the fabric of our lives, our stories, especially who we think we are, who we think we can or can't be. And so this really all came through my own journey and through working with women and realizing that most of us are not approving of our own selves, our own lives. And we've been taught that, right? I really believe that perfectionism is a function of a patriarchal culture. It is intended to keep women, just one level down or more from this world that has been invented by and for men. And what we've learned is to compete with one another, to compete with ourselves. We're never where we should be. We're never quite enough. We're always striving for this idea that we have to be more, instead of just allowing ourselves to relax into our lives, to relax into who we are, and to really express who we are, our true nature, so to speak, right? Instead of this sort of prescriptive idea of what women should be. So that is the art of self-approval. It's about being a difficult woman, really embracing the things that are used against us, right? Oh, she's so difficult. I'm like, yes, yes, be difficult. What does that really mean? Difficult is just someone's perception of how I am, who I am, what I do. And that's not about being an asshole to people. Oh, I hope I can swear on this show.
Well, you just did. No,
I
it's
just did.
totally fine.
It's
We're difficult
really,
women. We can swear.
there we go. Oh, I do all the time. It's really about no longer holding back who we are because it might upset someone or it might offend someone, or, we might be labeled difficult.
I love all of that. I'm absolutely a difficult woman, and I know that. And I don't even mean that in a bad way, but the older we get, I think that self-approval, we start to settle more into that, right? If we're lucky, if we've done the work, if we've it's hard work to get here, isn't it? It's hard work to be a difficult woman. And so, with that in mind, I want to just backtrack a little bit and go back to this idea of perfectionism, because as women as a whole, and again, nothing is finite, right? So, it's not every woman, but like you said, most of us are perfectionists. And I just want to clarify a little bit, because when I first heard people start talking about women are perfectionists, I thought, okay, that's not me because I'm a mess. Like, I have ADHD brain and I've got piles and I've got all the things. And I'm still a perfectionist, right? So, how is that possible?
Oh, that's so interesting. So to me, the perfectionism shows up when you judge yourself for those things. When you judge yourself because I have ADHD brain, so there's something wrong with me, right? I'm different. I have piles of something here in my house, so there must be something wrong with me because I put off cleaning, I procrastinate, it should look a certain way. So the should to, the have to, the need to, or I shouldn't. It's when we get into the self-judgment about those things, because her house is really neat but mine isn't, or she drives this car and I don't, or when we're getting into judging ourselves for where we are and who we are, that is perfectionism. That is not approving of ourselves wholly and unapologetically.
Love that. Wholly and unapologetically. I used to think perfectionism was everything had to be just so, as in, let's take your house, for example, because you said, maybe I don't tidy up as much as I should or whatever. Perfectionism to me used to mean, oh, everything had to be perfectly aligned in your house. The cans all had to be facing the same way. The towels had to be hanging a certain way. And that's not it at all. What you're saying is falling into the trap of believing that it should be that way is the perfectionism.
Yeah, absolutely. And judging yourself for not being something else, right? For judging yourself for who you are being. And also, I think that the things that you talk about, the having to have things in a certain order, is probably a form of perfectionism if I'm really hard on myself about it, if it's not, right? Am I
Yeah.
holding myself to some standard that is really self-oppressive as opposed to being joyful in my life? Right. Um, and and how am I keeping myself from, I'm going to be thoughtful about this a minute, because I just have this thought forming, but I'm thinking about how much of that self-judgment, that having to do things a certain way or shooting on myself, is keeping me from truly expressing who I am in the world, right? Am I busying myself and distracting myself with maybe the organization or the perfecting of something because I'm afraid to take the next step? I'm afraid, I've read somewhere that perfectionism is a response, it's a trauma response to having been shamed for making mistakes, right? So now I'm trying really hard not to make mistakes. And in the not making mistakes, I'm not expressing who I really am, right? Because we're all going to make mistakes. I mean, that's how we learn and grow.
Right.
And personally, I don't believe there are mistakes. There are just choices, and then we make the next choice. But yeah, how much of that is really keeping me from fully expressing who I'm here to be in the world? And I believe that we all have a purpose here, and it's not to have perfect, tidy homes, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Right.
But
If
that's
that's
not why
important
I
to you.
came here. Right. That's
Right.
not why I came here. I didn't come here to worry about what my house looks like.
Right.
That's something I learned that I should do, maybe, but it's not who I am.
You know what's so interesting about that is I can't even remember who I saw talking about this. I feel like could have been Brene Brown. I don't know. I saw someone saying if you feel like you have to, let's say, clean the kitchen, I can't leave dishes in the sink because my husband will get upset. And she said, whomever she is, said, if it doesn't bother you, but it bothers him, then he can wash the dishes. But you
Yeah.
shouldn't feel like you have to just so you're not, quote unquote, in trouble. And I
Yeah.
love how you brought in that piece around perfectionism often stems from being shamed, right? Because when we're children and we're not performing high enough or we're not doing what's expected of us, there is some shame that comes with that. Historically, I would say for most of us. So I can absolutely see because you're walking the fine line of, I want to stay out of trouble. I want to do everything right. I want to do it the way it's supposed to be. Ooh, Elaine, this is also juicy.
Yeah. Yeah. What does that even mean, right? According to whom?
According to
According to
whom?
whom? Yeah. Yeah. I truly believe that underpinning all perfectionism is shame or trauma around shame, right? Having, so many, myself personally, it took me a long time to find my own voice to really speak up and stand up for myself because that was not appropriate in my family. If my ideas went against that of my family, and I grew up in a pretty conservative family, then there was no place for that,
Right.
right? There's absolutely no place for that. How do you? And so it took me a long time to really allow myself to, and I'm still working on it. I'm in my 60s. I'm still watching where I'm editing myself, right? Where am I editing myself so that I don't make other people uncomfortable? That is perfectionism. You were talking earlier about, thinking that you weren't a perfectionist because there's some messiness or whatever. And I remember someone saying to me after taking a class with me, and she said, I didn't think I was troubled by perfectionism, but I realize now how much I edit my words so that I don't make other people uncomfortable. That's perfectionism. I don't want to have to deal with someone else's response to my authenticity. And so I hide it. That is a form of perfectionism.
Oh, how often I edit myself.
We
And
did.
you're a writer, right?
Guilty.
Yeah. You're a writer. So how often I edit myself. I mean, what a way to really bring it into perspective. And you're giving me, like, I feel like I keep getting lost in a thought because you're bringing up so much, which is a beautiful thing. That's what these conversations are meant to do. They're meant to make people think. They're meant to make people say, oh, yeah, right? And I feel like that's what you're doing
Yeah.
for me today. So I'm certain that's what you're doing for other people as well.
And other people do it for me.
Yeah.
We need each other to mirror. And I think that's part of my drive to do this and to do it more in groups with women, to bring women together into classes and programs and groups, because number one, it takes some of the shame out of it. Because you're sitting in a group of women, and even if they're not saying it out loud, somebody's going, oh, wow, I thought it was just me, right?
Right. Always.
And so in that environment, really amazing things happen, because I truly believe when you bring women together to do this kind of work, magic happens. It's just absolute magic. And we need more of that as women. We need community, and we need to stop comparing ourselves with others or comparing ourselves against some ideal out there in the culture, in the universe, that doesn't suit any of us, really.
Yeah. I don't know where along the way we lost the sisterhood that once was, where, like, one of my favorite books is The Red Tent. And I just
Mm-hmm.
love the idea of women coming together in a supportive sisterhood. I mean, that's what my business is, right? It's women finding clarity. It's coming together and finding clarity around who you are, what you want to bring to the world, your gifts, all the things. And I love that that's what you do as well, because, like I was just saying, somewhere along the way, we lost that sitting in a circle and talking about what's important and laughing together and crying together. And I would say just in the last 5 to 10 years, it feels like we're coming back to that. And it
Mm-hmm.
feels almost like a coming home.
Yeah, I think it in our genetics somewhere, although it's been lost. And I really think that that is the power of women, because I truly believe that we heal the world, but we have to do it with ourselves first. We have to start with ourselves, being kind, compassionate, and loving to ourselves. We are not taught to be kind to ourselves. We're not taught to be generous, at least not in this culture that I live in. We're not taught to be generous with ourselves. We are taught to push ourselves and grind ourselves hard, because then we'll be better humans. But honestly, we're just tired humans when that happens. We're exhausted humans, we're frustrated humans, we're filled with shame because we've been trying to live this life that someone else designed that does not suit most women. I won't throw everybody in there.
Right.
But honestly, it's not working for us. I mean, how many women do you know, and probably women listening to this, who are exhausted? They don't have enough time. They don't have enough time for themselves. They don't have enough energy. They don't have enough money. They're overwhelmed. They're overextended, and trying to figure
And
out how to
they
carve out
won't
2 minutes.
right? They won't spend the money and they won't take the time to be kind to themselves, to take care of themselves. My
Right?
mom did
Nobody's
it.
ever told them how.
No, my grandmother did it. My mom did it. I did it. Like, you don't spend money on yourself, you spend money on
Mm-hmm.
your kids. If it's for your
Yeah.
kids, you'll invest. If it's for yourself, you will not.
Yeah. And the most powerful investment you can ever make is one in yourself.
Absolutely.
It's so funny because I think about this often. Each one of us is here in this life that we get to live for however long that is. And there is huge power in community. And at the same time, we need to remember that we are integral and important parts of that community. We can't keep giving and giving and giving to other people and never receive. never give to ourselves, it just doesn't work. That's where the community starts to fall apart. And I think, we live in the US anyway, in this culture, we're taught to be so individualistic that we've lost the community, and we're in this sort of do productivity mindset. So we've lost ourselves. And we have to come back to ourselves in order to find community. It's really this sort of catch-22 that I think we're in. And it starts with an investment in yourself, even if it is as simple as making a half hour every day for you that you thought you couldn't before. I mean, really simple, tiny steps will yield big results in your life.
Yeah. It can be as small as, making your cup of tea or your cup of coffee. I'm mostly a coffee drinker, but there's something that's so very therapeutic to making a cup of tea. And I don't mean in the Keurig, I mean in a proper tea kettle with the whistle on the stove, and something about just opening the tea bag and pouring the water. And I don't know, it just feels therapeutic. And it takes
I
5 minutes, but it's beautiful.
I love that, because I think what you're really talking about here is ritualizing and making that sacred, right? So the unwrapping of the tea bag, or whatever type of, if you're using loose tea, whatever it is, but you really do it in a mindful way,
Yes.
and you ritualize it, and you give that time to yourself. So important.
And just thinking about that, let's compare. I have a Keurig and I love it, right? But let's compare what it feels like to pop a pod in a Keurig, push it down, stick your cup under and press the button, versus taking the time to either open the tea bag or scoop out the loose leaf tea
Yeah.
and pour the screeching kettle, pour the boiling water into the cup and let it steep and smell the aromas and feel the warmth. And it's night and day, isn't it? It's hot and cold.
Totally different experience. And I love that, because when I work with women in my practice, we talk about feeling all the time, right? We know the truth by the way it feels. We often ignore it because we've been taught that our feelings don't matter, or we shouldn't feel that way. And uncomfortable feelings, especially, right? We tend to push them aside. And there's gold in those feelings, to be mined, honestly.
Yeah.
But the power of feeling is amazing. To just make that distinction and give yourself that time with the tea, or even with making a cup of coffee as opposed to the Keurig, and notice how that feels in your body. I mean, just take a few minutes to let yourself be in that feeling of peace, joy, whatever that brings to you. That is a gift that you can give yourself anywhere, anytime, really. It doesn't cost anything.
Great. Yeah. And so simple and yet so
Very.
impactful. I love it. So let's talk a little bit about, I know this summer you ran a um, self-approval summer camp for
I
women.
did. I did.
So tell me about that. What was it like? What did you do? What was the experience? It sounds amazing.
I'm hoping to do it again next summer. It might have a
That
little
was going to be
different
my
title,
question.
but yes, yes. So I often work in groups, and a lot of times with the power of story. But Self-Approval Summer Camp was a 5-day summer camp. Uh, we met on Facebook. It was so simple. I did it on Facebook. It was like a half an hour on Facebook. Everybody got their little exercise for the day and what they were doing. It was really, it was an easy way to experience self-approval coaching, um, without having to make a big commitment. And it was fun. So I dressed up and I wore glasses and I had a hat and, all that fun stuff. Um, and It was really amazing. I had, I think, almost 30 women sign up for that and participate in that. Um,
Amazing.
and it really is just about taking small bites out of what you want, right? So really, what's the story that you're telling yourself about what you want, about who you are, whatever it is? And how do you unravel that a little bit? And how do you start to create a new story for yourself? And that's sort of the premise through everything that I do. But I do it in different ways, right? Sometimes it's really fun and I don't know, sometimes it's fun and sexy, I guess, is summer camp. And other times it's a longer process, but we're always having fun. And it's really about getting into your body and feeling and listening to the things that you tell yourself. And how does that feel? You know, when you tell yourself you're not good enough in some way, your body responds to that. You're creating a blueprint with everything that you tell yourself, everything that you say and think. Our thoughts are just words in our head. Everything that you say to yourself is creating a blueprint for the life that you're living. And so if you're not really satisfied with your life in some area, then what's your story, right? What's the story you're telling yourself? And sometimes they seem really true because it's the life I'm living, right? Oh, this is true. This is who I am. But what if it's not? What if it's just a story? And what if you can change that? And I absolutely love doing that work. So much fun.
Beautiful. How do you know the difference when you're working with these women and they feel like they're not sure if this is a story they're telling themselves, or what if this really is who I am, or what if it's not? How do you feel into that difference? Is that where you go back into the body?
Always, always back into the body.
Yeah.
I think this is going to sound, this might sound funny, but I think everything is story.
Yeah.
Um, everything, everything that's happened in my life, personally, happened for me, and it's happened through me because I'm the one making the choices. And so even the things that I didn't like, that felt crappy, that didn't look the way I wanted them to look, right? Didn't look like I wanted them to look, didn't come out the way I thought they should. All of it brought me here, right? So
Right.
that's sort of the beginning point. So I love to take women from that moment and say, okay, so let's look at the story that you've been telling and let's tell it in a different way because you're pretty remarkable. You've survived 100% of your days right up until now. Here you are, right?
Yeah.
So let's look at the remarkable things about you. Let's stop looking at the things you think you should have done differently because you didn't know at the time.
Right.
Let's stop looking at the things that you think went wrong because obviously they got you here. And from that place, then you start telling a new story. What's the story you want to tell about yourself? Who do you want to be? You get to decide. There's nothing fixed about any one of us, really. Maybe physically there is, but that can change too. We get to decide. No one else can tell us. And I think that's where the healing perfectionism really comes into this because we've been told who we should be for so long that we think that's who we are. But
Yeah.
no one else gets to dictate that. No one else gets to tell us that. I get to decide that. You might not like it, doesn't matter. I decide who I am.
Isn't it interesting how we allow other people to tell us who we are instead of the reverse? We should be standing on the top of the mountain screaming out, "This is who I am," right? And showing up in all the ways we want to show up, showing up as our most vibrant, beautiful, best selves. And on days when we're not feeling vibrant and beautiful, showing up with our lower sad selves because it's authentic. But instead, what we do is we put on the mask and we show up with a smile because we're supposed to, and we let other people tell us who we are.
We do because we want them to like us. We want to belong. But when we do that and we're inauthentic, we don't belong to ourselves. And I'm going to spend my whole life with me.
Yes.
So I've decided that I want to like me. And if I
Yeah,
don't like you because I like me, it's going to have to be okay.
absolutely. I tell my clients all the time, it's so important to be selfish. And I mean that with a capital S, selfish, right? It doesn't mean like
Mhm.
you had said earlier, when you're doing what's best for you, it doesn't mean you have to be mean about it,
Right.
but be selfish, take care of yourself and allow yourself to just be yourself.
Yeah. I think one of the hardest things for me to learn has been boundaries,
Mm,
because I think I grew up without any, first of all, right? I wasn't really allowed to have them. And I think as women, that's common.
yeah,
Um, and so for me, for a long time, it felt like boundaries meant I was being mean to other people. It took me
right.
a while to realize that boundaries were about being kind to me.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with anyone else. And that was a huge turning point for me.
And also, yes, it's about being kind to yourself, but boundaries are also kind to other people because now they know what to expect, right?
Exactly.
They
Exactly.
know what you expect from them, and clear is kind.
Yes, it is.
Love
Yes,
that
it
Brene
is.
Brown. Love me some Brene Brown.
Me too. Me too.
Yeah, she's an amazing person. And it's her authenticity that really, I think, makes her so amazing. Sure, she's brilliant. She's a brilliant mind. She's funny. She's just so authentic. She shows up with the good, the bad, the ugly. She is absolutely what you call a difficult woman because she
Oh,
shows up.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think one of the best moments for me listening to Brene Brown is when she realized that she couldn't prove her own research. She had one hypothesis about, I don't know what it was, shame or belonging or something, and she realized that she was totally wrong. And she said, I was totally wrong. And I'm like, oh, okay. I'm
Yeah.
in.
And it's okay. I must have been channeling my inner Elaine this morning because I was getting ready to run an errand and I was getting dressed, and I don't even know why it came to me or why I started thinking about it. But I was like, I just used to take myself so seriously. And I could never laugh at myself. And I could never, if someone made fun of me, I would be so injured by that, even if they
Mhm.
just meant it in like a lighthearted way. Right. And I think that that does come from trauma. Um, the trauma you experience from bullying, the trauma you experience from, like you said, the perfectionism, all of those things. But it's so important not to always take yourself so seriously. I have no idea why that came into my mind this morning, except for to say, I think I must have been channeling you.
I am all about play.
Yeah,
And for a long time, I was that serious person. I did not know how to play at life, really. I think life is playing with us all the time,
yeah,
and we can have fun with it if we want to. We have to learn how to do that. I mean, we're so go to work and or do all these things all the time, and we have to be busy and productive. Otherwise, our life is going to fall apart. But honestly, I think that there is a lot to be said for slowing down, breathing, pausing, and playing.
yeah, yeah. I told you I was sick last week, and coming out of that, I spent 2 days, like 2 full days in bed. The first day, I couldn't even wake up. Like I was in that awake and asleep place where I was
Yeah.
trying to wake up and I just couldn't. I COVID tested, it was negative. It's just some virus that's going around apparently. But like I said, 2 full days in bed. And then after that, I was kind of just on the couch downstairs, just in amongst my husband, my two sons. And I have never laughed. Not true. Not that I've never laughed, but I haven't laughed as hard in the last, I'd say, 3 days. I haven't laughed in a long time, as much as I've laughed in the last 3 days. Why was that so hard to get out? I don't know why. I think it's because I wasn't just sitting up at my desk working by myself, right?
Yeah.
I was down, I was with everyone else. I had my laptop, but I was more casually working and interacting. And, when I wasn't working, maybe I was sending some TikTok videos to my family or whatever, but just we were laughing and it felt so good. And I think
Yeah.
maybe that's why it came up today in my mind of I really take myself so much less seriously. And the laughter is the thing that I think I miss the most in my life. And it has felt so good to laugh so much for the last few days.
Yeah, I don't think I think we're here to experience joy, whatever that means to you.
Yeah.
Nothing is one size fits all. Talking about laughing. So right now I am on a 1 month road trip around the country, out west mostly with my partner and my dog. And it's been really interesting. I probably 5, 10 years ago would never have given myself a month to do anything like this.
Right.
And we have played at all kinds of things, and we have laughed, and we've gotten cranky, but we've laughed so much at just silly things. And I really think that for me, to be in the play and the laughter and the fun and to do things outside of the normal day to day is where our inspiration comes from.
Yeah.
You can't be doing all the time and have the brain space, or maybe it's clearing the brain space. I'm not sure what I'm saying here, but to get sort of out of your head, right? Get into a
Right.
different environment, go outside, take a walk, make that cup of tea, go to a different place, take a different route to work if you go to an office every day. When we get out of routine, we are a little bit uncomfortable. And I mean, it's not huge discomfort to take a different route to work, but you're paying attention now because
Right.
you're not on that autopilot. And when we can do that, we actually open up our heart and our mind to different ideas, and we become more creative and we become more expressive.
Yeah.
We've seen some pretty remarkable things on this trip, and I don't even have words for them right now.
So cool. So cool. Yeah, and that's one of the things that I did notice that came out of that state of just being in laughter. And I made a joke at one point. I was like, "Do you think I have a brain tumor? Why am I laughing so much all the time?" And we laughed about that. But what came out of that was this whole new creativity. While I was sitting downstairs with my laptop, I wrote an ebook, right? And it
Mhm.
just started to come. And it was in that place of just being more free spirited of the creativity because we really are creators. It's what we're here to do, it's what we're
Yeah.
here to be. Think of how everything in this world in our lives has come to be. It's because someone created it, right?
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
were created. Everything is a creation. It's what we're here to do. And
Yes,
we
it's what we
can't be,
are.
it's what we are. And we can't be that if we're focused so much on being something that we're not.
Absolutely. I couldn't say it better.
So
Yeah,
that
that's
brings
very
me
true.
to the next thing that you have coming up. And it's a program called Women Writing Their Lives. Is that right?
So that is in progress right now. I run a 6-week program called Women Writing Their Lives. We're into week 2 right now. That will come around again, probably the first of the year. I like to run that like 3 times a year. And that is what we were talking about earlier, right? Really looking at the story you've been telling, looking at really how amazing you already are, and then who do you want to be now? And how do we take that story and start to build it forward? Because none of us is less than the other. We are all valuable, we are all worthy, we are all brilliant in our own unique and beautiful ways. And I just want every woman in the world to be able to express herself authentically, deeply, and beautifully. To really be in her true nature, to let her soul shine. That is the work. That is why I am here.
Love that. I love it. I love it. So you are a published author, right?
I am, yes.
Love that. So what is your book and what is it about?
So this actually, the book is Three Secrets to a Kick-Ass Life, Empowering Women to Live into Their Dreams. It is a very short book with exercises in it, and it came out of a workshop that I used to teach, which I have not done in quite some time. But it's a really great introduction to the art of self-approval. And it's available on Amazon in ebook or paperback.
That's fantastic. That's my dream, is to write a book. And I've just started thinking lately that what am I waiting for? I should be writing it along the way. Why am I not writing the story as it's unfolding instead of trying to look back years later, right? It just makes so much
You can
sense.
you can do whatever you want to do.
That's right. Because I'm a difficult woman, Elaine.
You get to write that book forward, backwards, however, whatever works for you, really. And if
Yeah.
you're already writing ebooks, you're on your way. I mean, you're
I'm
there.
a,
You are a writer. You are a writer. Yeah,
we're all writers. I think that we just haven't all been given the chance or been shown how, right? But it's all inside of all of us. And some people
yeah,
don't write in the written word. Some people write through paintbrushes. Some people write through singing. Some people, it's all your creativity that is being expressed.
absolutely. Absolutely.
Mm, so good. So, as we're closing up here for the day, do you have anything that you would like to offer listeners?
Yeah, I do. Right now I have I guess you'd call it a little ebook. Um, Free on my website is this great guide that I wrote. It's called Cracking the Code to Fearless Self-Approval. And really, it's three. I love to work in threes because they're simple, right? It's three simple steps, practices that you can begin really easily. It won't cost a thing. And to really start to connect with your own story and the places where you may not be approving of yourself and start to make that shift if that's something you want to do. Um, it's free. Just go to my website, sign up, and it is there for you.
That's amazing. Thank you. And I'll put the link in show notes so
Thank
everybody
you.
can grab that, because I think some people don't even realize that they have a story or that they are a story. And so this sounds like it's a great way to start to even look at that idea.
Yeah, I think that's really, we all have a story and all of our stories matter because we matter. I mean, we're here for a reason. We're here by divine appointment, in my opinion,
Yeah.
with a purpose. And um, I think a lot of that purpose is self-intimacy, to really begin to understand ourselves so that we can be more of that in the world, more of what we came here to be in the world. And honestly, doing the kind of work that I do, I started by downloading people's free things off their websites and, ooh, oh, okay, it's just a different perspective. Um, so don't be afraid to do it.
Sometimes that's all it takes, right? Is one little perspective shift and it cracks everything wide open.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Elaine, this has been amazing. Thank you so much for being here, and definitely keep us posted when you've got upcoming events and workshops and things, because they just all sound so fun. I think you're fabulous. I love that you're just gone rogue and you're out traveling and doing your thing. You're just such a fun, free spirit.
Thank you. Thank you. This has
Yeah.
been a blast. I'm grateful to have been here. Thanks so much.
Elaine's energy is fantastic and she's so full of down to earth wisdom. What was your biggest takeaway from our conversation? For me, it's the reframe of being a difficult woman, and that it's not something to be ashamed of, but it's something to be empowered by. I absolutely love it. As always, thank you for joining us week after week. I truly am thankful for each of you. For deeper connection with Women Finding Clarity, I invite you to join our private Facebook community, Connection and Clarity. Remember, the universe is abundant, and success is your birthright. Let's align, elevate, and thrive together, one conversation at a time. Good night. Thank you for being in our Women Finding Clarity community. If you're enjoying this podcast, please consider leaving us a 5-star rating and review on your favorite listening platform and share it with someone you know so they can find clarity from the conversation as well. Remember, the universe is abundant and success is your birthright. Let's align, elevate, and thrive together, one conversation at a time. See you next week.